Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragonqueen. This is How to Run Chapter 6. I am your Dungeon Master, Kelly, are you seeing him? And folks, we are getting into it tonight. We are going to be breaking down Chapter 6 and talking about how we did the City of Lost Names and how potentially you could do it, how we could do it differently. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to have us address, please put them in the chat. And we will start to get to them. But first, let's go around and introduce everybody, and let's start with Christine. Hello, Christine.
Hello, I'm Christine. I use she, her pronouns, and in this game, I generally play Kelara Vanguard, our human cleric of Mystical. And I love my background.
Yeah, I'm trying some new stuff.
It is snowing.
Yep. Chris is not going to be joining us tonight. His little one kept him up last night, and because it's a how-to, he's taking the chance to rest, which we strongly approve. So Chris, if you're watching this, hopefully you're sleeping. I hope you have a great night, and hope you and Caitlin are doing well. Down to Robin.
Hi! I just saw my background. I unpaused for that because my internet's being really laggy, so I can't have Twitch up all the time because I'm streaming from my harvest house for my commute because there's still a giant pile of rocks between me and my house, my work and my house. But yes, hello, I'm Robin. I use she, her pronouns, and I am second gen gamer in the chat, and I usually am playing Rizira Moonbrush, our Kender swashbuckling rogue, and yeah, this is a very interesting setup. I posted in the Dragonlance spoilers on Discord. I'm currently streaming with a ironing board as my desk. So this what I do for you, the audience, to play. Also, just I want to play with my friends too. So, but yeah, this is fun. And I'm looking forward to having a kind of a chill chit chat night.
Nice. It'll be pretty good. Over to Cal.
Hello, my name is Cal. I'm Neo Cal in the chat. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm usually playing Aurontiros, the Qualinesti elf.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm excited to... oh, and he's also a bard. I guess I feel like he's elf first, bard second. Yeah.
It's elven magic, not bard magic.
He's a mage first now.
Bard magic? Yeah, they're the international elf of mystery.
Elfin powers?
Yeah, elfin powers.
Okay. This implies the presence of an elf in Texas. All right, so there's an Austin, Texas. Anyway, Jen, hi.
Hi, I'm Jen. I use she, her pronouns. And I usually play Hazeal Nightgranite, our dwarven lunar sorcerer, with all of the sorcery bits. Yay! Magic.
Nice. And also joining us tonight is our sponsor, Bookworm Games. Folks, Bookworm Games is a fantastic repository of all manner of dice. They've got close to 200 different types of dice, everything from acrylic to resin to metal to liquid core, even actual gemstones like amethyst or bloodstone. You can get dice bags to keep those dice nice and contained because their power is unmatched. You can get trays to protect all of your property because you don't want to accidentally roll them and have them go through like walls, windows, pets, anything like that. And if they do, though, don't forget that Bookworm Games also has a series of familiars that you can buy, as well as other things like candy dice, scented candles, mystery boxes, and even a Mystic Item monthly subscription. You can also get some jewelry and tea. They've just started releasing tea. They are a fantastic company based out of the Vancouver area, and you can save 10% by using code DORKTALES, all one word, when you buy from them. They're a great company, they're good people, and you should honestly, if you need some dice, you couldn't go wrong with Bookworm Games. So thank you, Bookworm Games, for being our sponsor yet again. You are wonderful, and I hope you had a great time at PAX. Sad that we couldn't go down there and hang out with you, but maybe next year. All right, so with that out of the way, it is time to get into this. So folks, we're going to be talking about Chapter 6, which is the City of Lost Names. Okay, so for our purposes, the City of Lost Names section of the book takes place from the moment you enter that tunnel at Wind's End, right after the big fight, and then that useless fight at Wind's End, all the way up to the bit where you and the army recombine and try to head back to Kalaman to protect it from the floating citadel. Okay? By the way, there will be spoilers in this episode because we're talking about how we ran the game and how you could run the game. So if you have yet to watch our previous episodes or do not want to be spoiled, there's a spoiler tag, so you've been warned. What I'm going to do is, why don't we ask real quick, what's everybody's favorite thing or most memorable thing from this chapter?
I mean, the Temple of Paladine, for me, is the most memorable and probably the most awesome part. Was pretty well. The fight at the end was pretty awesome too.
The dragon fight. The dragon fight was sweet. Yeah. That was a good fight.
The dragon fight was pretty awesome and epic. But like the most like kind of was the Temple of Paladine, and getting the actual lance restored was pretty fucking amazing in my opinion.
That was pretty cool. But the part where we had like that bit of meeting people afterwards.
Oh yeah, the visions.
Because like you know who Fizban is, right, Christine?
Like vaguely.
He's an avatar of Paladine.
Okay.
So he's literally a god, and he's basically he's a ripoff Gandalf.
Okay, like I recognize the name because I know the book.
Yeah,
but so I was like, oh,
he's like funny because he's senile.
He's like kind of senile. All right.
He's like a big name for D&D because like he's got a whole book named after him.
Did you read the first book? What was it? Autumn.
Christine, she read the part where he's setting up the end of the last home for the companions for sure, because that's the prologue.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, yeah.
So that's pretty good. What about you? What else was really good about this chapter that stood out? So meeting people, Christine, that was yours. Jen or Cal, is there anything that jumps out at you?
I feel real bad because my memory is shit, and all I can remember is the last fight.
You know what? I know what you love the most, Jen, and it's that you took a language that ended up.
I mean, yeah, I guess that was cool. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember it. That's the problem.
But you remember,
I literally have no recollection of how much what chapter 6 was. I'm sorry, I just don't. It's the way my brain works.
I think one of my favorite moments though was in the fight in Paladin when it was wet and Godfrey was like down at the bottom of that hole, and I was able, because I'm a warcaster, to stick my head underwater and go walk on water.
Yeah, you say both Godfrey and I. It was great.
And I was like,
it's pretty.
Felt
great.
Really clever.
What about
a hand?
How about the tests of high sorcery?
I think that's what I was going to.
That was a big character moment for you,
bud. Was that this chapter?
Yeah. So you know what? After we got
through that super easy fight with like a dude in a barn and a Dragonlance into the actual city.
The fight that wasn't.
The fight that wasn't. Well, by the time that there was a dust storm, so.
And then we ended up in those tunnels, and that's how we got to the chick who did your.
Yes, that's right.
So see, I also have that problem of remembering all of what was in.
We'll tell you what
the chapter we're referencing.
So Cal, why don't you tell me what is something that you remember, and then I'll go over this, and we'll revisit this question if anybody has anything that pops up.
That's a good point. Yeah. The test of high sorcery. As a player, I ran with. There was the. Like, what would my character do? And the positive metagaming was going through my head. Like, I don't want to take away from the actual wizard in the group because their whole thing was leaving their homeland to become to go to the tower, right? Whether it kills them or not, right? And it was like, is that stepping on someone? Oh, how would you do magic? And like certain levels of magic are like banned, like you need to join the. And I was like, well, no, I don't. I think she's good at like what she does, and so it's like, okay, yeah, let's. It was unexpected, but it was like, you know what, like, wow, like bards have a lot more spells than I thought. Like
Mhm.
I didn't realize they were main casters. Not like those dang half casters. Yeah. And
Mm.
I was like, you know what? Yeah. Yeah, like let's do it. And then I don't know if how much of it was like Kelly. I guess we'll get into it,
We'll get
Kelly,
into
or
that.
how much of it was in the module. But that was a really good way of letting everyone like do something, experience something, see peril, risk themselves, showcase the values
Mhm.
in like a really short like
It
amount
does
of
fit.
time. Yeah,
Well, thank
and
you.
I don't know, I like that, liked it a lot.
So here's what this chapter contains, okay? I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough so that you can get a sense of things, all right? So you enter this place called the Path of Memories. You drop the map out of the book. There we go. So you enter this place called the Path of Memories, which you guys entered from the outside, from that little tunnel. From there, you kind
That's
of...
where Riz ended up in the pond that got lit on fire, and Godfrey was on fire.
And she turned purple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
She kept
With
drinking
the weird
everything.
dragon things that were like ghost dragon skeletons.
So yeah, so the whole thing is like you're in here, and then because Unyari is built on all of these bones, there's dragon spirits everywhere, right? And they accuse you of trespassing and desecrating their bones. All of this in Draconic. Nobody here has Draconic, so Dragonlance is weird because the Cataclysm's only 300 years ago, but you would kind of assume that Common wouldn't change that much, but languages do drift. So when I found out that Hazeal had taken Istarian as a language, I was like, all right, close enough. Like, that's close enough to Common for this purpose, or close enough to Draconic that the dragons would be able to communicate in some degree, especially the more sentient of them. So that's one thing I would suggest. If for some reason everybody has a party member that usually takes Draconic, I just ended up without one for the first time ever.
I mean, in this one, it didn't really make sense because if dragons don't really exist,
In the setting, we all
Yeah,
know
I
that the
purposely
setting-
didn't choose Draconic because I'm like, we don't know that Draconians really exist in this setting yet.
Also,
so
I
I
looked at it as,
purposely
like-
didn't choose Draconic.
Kelara did get another language, but she's a village girl. Why
Yeah.
would she know anything weird? So that's why I took Solamniac.
I like that.
Solomonic,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. We were all very heavily. We'd either all just read it or listened to the audiobook or whatever, right? And it's like, there's no way in hell that Aurontiros is going to get bored and be like, time to dedicate the next 50 years to learning a language I'll never speak. So it was like, oh,
Yeah, you're
Solamnic.
Too much work
It
doing
reminds
flower
me of
arranging.
people that learn flower arrangement and what's that competitive Olympics ribbon?
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
ribbon?
rhythmic
Yeah.
gymnastics.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you go into this, you hunt through these tunnels. There's this collapsed building, and if you go around through it, go near the ruin, it wakens a golem that you have to fight. A golem. There's a flooded passage to the south with a little squeezable hole that medium characters have to like actually squeeze through, but small characters can go right through. And on the other side, there is a collapsed tavern that has a slod in it, a green slod. That is drawn by the chaos magic of the city. If it notices you, it hisses and then uses hurl flame. I made the water flammable because it's more fun. Actually, pardon me, that was one thing that was actually in the book. My bad. So the water is flammable, and I was really hoping that a bunch of people would try, so I'd catch them in like flaming water. And it's a lot of fun. However, when we came across it, we also realized that Riz is small enough that she could stay underwater, and it's technically, this is the point where your physics will get into your game, and you're like, well, the water wouldn't be on fire below the surface because it doesn't have oxygen, and it's not technically magical fire. It's like oil. So you can absolutely feel justified burning your characters if you want when you run this. I chose to not do it to Riz because she's small enough. And she's a rogue, so it just seemed good.
Yeah, because you
inside-
described it like Riz was basically having to like either swim or be on Godfrey because it was like 3 feet. Like it was up to everyone's like almost
Mhm.
waist, so it was like almost covering Riz. So it's like just like if you're in a like a bath or a hot tub, you can easily go under the water. So
and just hold your breath.
oop.
And then we went to drowning rules, and you didn't need to wait that long. So there are a couple of really cool things in this. One is there's a wine cellar on the other side of there, and it's got a few awful wines there that are worth a lot of money, but they're awful, and they will poison your characters, as Riz found out. But there was like no other treasure, so I threw some additional things in just to like more for flavor than anything, just to kind of like spice up the game. I find that adding additional little, I forget what you guys found in that hole. There was like a letter and like some other stuff in there besides the
Which
wine.
hole?
The hole behind, there was like behind a painting or behind a piece of the mural, there was like a storage
Is that
box.
the one that got smashed? by
Yes.
Hazeal?
Yes. So that was just all me throwing that in, and then you guys breaking it, and it
right.
was great. I love
But yes,
it.
we do have 5 bottles left of Blue Ishtar wine.
Mhm.
I have that in our party inventory.
Yeah. So that's pretty great. From there, if you go up around the way, there is something called the Bone Gauntlet, where as you're going through, all of these bone dragons emerge and try to get you. I love it. I love it so much. And then from there, you kind of go in and up again through this like lounge, and there's this dragon skeleton above the mantle, and it's this huge fight, and I was so psyched for it. And then Jen's just like nat 20 persuasion or something like that of like, hey, we're cool. And I'm like, I really wanted to stick with you, because this thing has like really fun stats, and it would have been a really like, it's literally called a lesser death dragon. And I really
think
wanted
the thing was, we were all trying not to, because I think you decimated us in that slad fight, so we were just like,
I know.
and the golem.
I'm pretty sure that I was like, this is also not the end of this. I don't know where we get to stop.
Yeah.
Let's try and make it not hit me.
I was just, I know. It was the smart idea, and I think it was the right thing. But I really wanted the lesser, because it has something called Cataclysmic Breath. I could have hit you with Cataclysmic Breath. But
What had this?
the lesser
what
death
is
We
dragon.
still have an entire chapter of game. I'm pretty sure you'll get another shot at it.
Yeah.
It's
The
Bring the
dragons?
lesser death dragon in. Just bring it in.
you might,
Yeah.
I won't bring a lesser one in. How's that? The
Mm.
training wheels are off. No lessers.
Mm.
Full
So
death dragon.
It's
full death
great or
dragon.
nothing.
It's greater. It's nerf or the nerf death dragon. Okay.
Death
So
metal dragon.
the death metal dragon. You can't read its name. It just looks like someone threw a bunch of sticks on the screen.
Yeah.
It just has like
Road.
Dracula
bunch
playing in the
bunch
back
of drunk
of it.
Yeah. So from there, you guys go into the wizard's workshop. All the stuff about the rats was obviously improv'd, so enjoy. There were a bunch of scrolls hidden that you could have found if you looked around. I find that players don't tend to do a lot of like investigating if the book has like a time limit on it. Like if a character spends 1 hour investigating the books here. For one, it's really weird because this is literally the workshop next to Demlin's apartment. So that's like, I'm just sitting in my living room reading a book, and someone walks into my kitchen and like roots around for an hour, and I don't go say hi. That's kind of weird, right? So
I mean, maybe you're just that introverted.
yeah, just,
Yeah, right? You
just
could just
nope,
be-
nope.
Good.
Yeah, just yeah. So Demlin is a red-robed mage from back before the Cataclysm. She's balls old, and she basically shows up when you enter her apartments, goes, "Ah, yes, time for your test," and breaks a gem, summons an air elemental, and then there's some fighting. And she only defends herself, does not go offensive, and after the fight, she comes out and is like, "Ah, yes, you passed my test." It's kind of weird, but it worked. She dimension doors if you try to do too much. So at that point, then what you end up doing is you end up talking with her. She does a bunch of exposition drop, and then she goes, "Hey, any of you guys mages? You want to be? I can do the tests." Okay. And this is where we deviate significantly. I was lucky enough to have one of our patrons, Ink Goblin, message me privately and said that he had just ran through a bunch of this as well. He had a real problem with it. Like he said that it was a really anticlimactic thing. And the more I read it, the more I kind of agreed. Would you guys like to hear what originally supposed to happen? Okay. The following section.
I swear to God, if it's a cup game, like it was
just
set up to be.
No, that was just me. That was just me being
Okay,
a jerk.
good.
That was me tricking you into thinking the next thing wasn't part of the test. You give them the easy answer and then give them the
Right.
hard answer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, the Testify Sorcery is personalized. I love it when it's basically teaching you how to do like a seeking for Mage the Ascension, but Demlin's version of the test takes place in the participant's mind, casting them into a mental recreation of Onyari's final moments. In this vision, the character faces a magical challenge and a moral test that test their values. When personalizing the test and determining the character's challenge, consider the following questions. What's their alignment? What are their goals? What order did Wyan recommend? Which order do they say they want to join? So during the test, it should be a clear choice between good, neutrality, and evil as presented by the orders. As it unfolds, give the characters an opportunity to choose any order they please. If the character makes a surprising choice, consider asking the player how they reconcile their choice with their values. If the character feels strongly about a choice that conflicts with their values, the character might use this as a pivotal moment for growth. Ending the test. As the test reaches its decisive moment, remind the players that the character's choices will result in gaining membership in a particular order. If they want to change their choice, allow them to do so. Very, very flexible, right? Dying during the test. It can be lethal, but only if that's part of the story the player wants to tell. That is my favorite part of this entire thing, is that they say if you want your character to be able to die, that is your choice, not the choice of the dice, not the choice of the story. A personal sacrifice within a vision cements a character's belief, should result in the test ending and the character regaining consciousness unharmed. However, if a character forsakes all magic or refuses to engage with the test, let the player know that these choices could result in them being consumed by magic and dying. I like that. Other characters who aren't taking the test generally are unaware of what's transpiring in the test-taking character's mind. If you want to involve characters, the test-taking might mentally manifest their allies. Keep the focus of the encounters on the magic-defining characters. This should remain a character-defining moment, okay? Running the test itself goes very similarly to how I did with Demlin doing the, time to find out who you are, blah, blah, blah. And then here are the tests that they go with, okay? Good characters. A dragon returns and attacks fleeing people, including a large group of innocents and a small group of people beloved by the character. There's likely time to save only one group. The character might find himself suited for white robes by trying to save everyone, by sacrificing himself, or by desperately trying to negotiate with the dragon. If they prioritize the good of others, they might what they want over the good of others, they might receive red robes. Evil characters. The dragon returns. The character's rival or non-spellcasting ally steps between those trying to escape and the oncoming dragon. Unaware of the character, the rival uses the incredible magic of a glowing staff to hold the dragon. If the character attacks the foe or tries to steal the staff or otherwise prioritizes their own ambitions, they prove themselves worthy of the black robes. Scholars struggle to evacuate a collection of ancient tomes or something the character highly values from crumbling structure. This is the neutral side. The dragon returns, threatening both the scholars and the large group of innocents. There's likely only time to save one. If the character saves themselves or the lore-protecting librarians, they're likely suited for the red robes. And they put the stipulations there. They also say that for adjusting the test, magic is altered slightly. Perhaps every time the characters use a spell, they take necrotic damage or gain exhaustion. It follows dream logic, and the test lasts as long as it feels dramatic. So you could see that I took beats and touchstones from there. But looking at this, please.
I was just gonna say that what it feels like is them going, your party is going to be your party, and whoever you're running for, they're going to be specific characters, and we can't give you every scenario that might work for those characters. So here's some ideas, but be creative. That's what it feels like.
I think so. And I think it's okay. I feel like they could have given a few more point form examples that would have been, I think it would have been helpful for people, right?
Yeah.
And
So,
then...
Yeah, they could have definitely
please.
given more.
The one thing I'm getting from this module, and like I think you are doing a very good job balancing this out, Kelly. But again, the wording that you read for taking the test were like, oh yeah, the people that aren't in it don't
Participate.
make them participate or not important. It should be the focus of that. But then where is that moment for the non-magical classes? Because this module is very focused on clerics and mages, and is just like I get it because it's important in Dragonlance, but you have rogues, fighters, barbarians that are not magical people.
Yeah, it's the same problem we had at the beginning with the prologues.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like
you have to do a lot of extra work.
Which I think you're doing a wonderful job, and you including us in it was really lovely, Kelly. But I get that like sense from the module and from the writing of it. It's like, oh yeah, like D&D. It feels like each person has, their moments, but the module isn't giving a moment to the non-caster classes versus it's giving moments. So it's making the DM having to put work to make their non-magic players have their special moment, because the module's just giving out stuff to that, which is so like here it really tweaked me when you were reading out that description of the task. It was like not important or not participate. It was just like, that's kind of rude module.
So honestly, if we want to talk about this real quick, after the preludes, there is very little for clerics. First of all, for divine casters, everything that Christine has gone through with Kelara has been stuff I've added. Like them specifically targeting clerics isn't in the book. Them being kind of like, for one, being more aggressive towards clerics because they're rival gods that are starting to come and interfere with Togasus. Like that. That's not in the book. Being visited by gods, being visited by having holy visions, that's not in there. But that's something I love to do in my stories, is have that type of like interaction with gods. All of the Solamnic stuff. After Becklin either dies or passes, or I mean survives, passes, or death saves, I guess. And gives armor to Darrett, there is next to nothing for knights in the entire thing. Which is why I had Sarlamir like leave his armor and be like, take my armor, redeem me, bye. And that's why I had Godfrey knighted at the Dragonlance, because there's all of these things where it's like, oh, you can take all these feats that say you're a knight. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't get knighted. Like it's becoming
what is
a knight,
but a fighter that
did the kneeling and the tappy,
the kneeling and the tappy.
That's as big of a deal for that character as the testify sorcery is for someone else. And like, luckily, had Riz not been accumulating story beats like a Kender, right? Like, I would have had to do a lot more work, but you keep getting these moments, and like you're accumulating like titles and just silly stuff that keeps sticking to you like Velcro, right?
Yeah. So,
but if you weren't doing that legwork, and like you weren't getting lucky and having those things just stick to you, like by chance, my God, you would be so much work to try to incorporate you and give you those special moments. Thankfully, you're making your own fun, and I love it when players make their own fun, and it makes my life easier. But I mean, for a while, like Cal, you and I were going back and forth in chat about like what you wanted to do with Aurontiros. You're like, oh, do I want to become a caster? Do I want to become this? Do I want to become that? Do I want to become a warlock? And it was like, well, we can figure this out. But like, what do you want to do in terms of you? And we, you eventually decided you wanted to take the test too. And
that could have been really funny if you'd ended up a warlock, depending on what your patron was.
Oh man, I had a few picked out.
I still think back and I'm like, oh, should I have like gone and done that? But the character felt, maybe that would have been fun. Maybe that would have been fun. But I feel like I know who the character is a lot, and maybe that's something they would do, listen to spooky whispers or voices or whatever they would do it under other circumstances, but right now they're kind of like Merry or Pippin in like Lord of the Rings, right? Like they got pulled into something bigger and their values developed. They were forced to actually address their values. And it makes sense that they would just kind of stay on the path that they were, instead of like accepting a pack. It could have been interesting though. Could have been like, hey, I'm not powerful enough. Maybe you can help me become more powerful so I can help.
I think it would have been absolutely hilarious if, and I know this isn't how D&D works, but if Hazeal had become your patron. It's like,
maybe someday.
I grant you spells.
Aha!
Well, I mean, honestly, in the long run, it would just be your own case of dwarf rabies.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's jumped from dwarf to elf.
Oh god,
Now
it's
elf rabies.
mutating. So I think that if you'd gone Hexblade, that would have been the most bless you. I think that would have been the most basic and expected choice. The time for the character to become a badass moment that you see in so many things. So yeah, I think that the leveling up into a badass would have been the most expected thing. But this is becoming powerful in a more Aurontiros-y way, you know, a non necessarily violent. It's interesting because it doesn't follow a lot of the arcs that we're used to, particularly for masculine characters. You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you think so too. Like, I don't know. It's been maybe all of you Dork Tales veterans playing, but it's been interesting because I don't know. Aurontiros gets to test my own like values and to get to explore like, you know, gender expression and that sort of like thing through them. But like you had said, I think it's more like you had said, it's more Aurontiros like to not have that. All right, the hair's coming down and the sword is coming out, and
right,
it's time to Eldritch Blast my way through this beast.
But now he's a source of strength from his own, you know, like he has his own source of strength, and that strength doesn't have to be like fighting. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fighting, and I don't know, it's
interesting.
It's interesting, and I really like I didn't realize how fun support was in D&D.
Yeah, I think
even though it's just mechanical.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But like it's been role playing support more than it's been like the mechanical bonuses here and there. I'm bad at the mechanically, like when I got all these things I can do, I don't know what to do. But role playing that in and out of combat has been
I
fun.
think it's a very brave and bold choice to play a very non-confrontational, fighty character in a D&D game that is based on war. I think it's very, and it's definitely crafted. Excuse me, a very unique character that is very, very Aurontiros, and it's just like you do things with spells that it's just like it's so clever, and the fact that like yeah, it's really, really cool to watch you like play Aurontiros. It's a lot of fun to play with everyone in this group. It's really it's a good group.
It's a very good group.
I dig it a lot. I made us go heartfelt there.
Oh,
go back to boobs and butts. My bad.
Boobs and
butts.
Boobs and butts. All right. Now you make me want to play.
Speaking of Levna.
Speaking of Levna, God, I love Levna.
Speaking of boobs and butts.
Yeah, Levna's amazing. Levna's amazing, and the best part of this entire chronicle.
Yeah.
God, she's. I always am like, is she too much? Is she too much?
No.
But she needs to be, because none of us are.
Yeah.
Like we don't have the, hey guys, chop chop. we need to go and do this thing. Like,
Also, it's the
We
most
need our
useful tool.
commander.
It's the most useful tool just to be like, well, because she's like in trope, she's the dragon, right? Like she's the second in command of everybody, but she's the bitey one
Yeah.
who's like herding
Yeah.
cats, and it's very useful.
No,
Keeps you on track.
it's good
is a different
because
relation. Go ahead. Yeah.
it's a good way to have like a way for Kelly to be like, hey, let's get moving type thing, which is great. But she's just so entertaining and it's so much fun to like play off of her. Whereas like I feel like Kelara tends to be a little passive aggressive, just like, well, you didn't bother asking me, so I'm not going to say anything.
Mm-hmm. I feel
You
like
didn't ask me if there was
contrast.
spices, so I'm just not going to tell you that I have spices. I'm just going to wait till you come back and I've already got a perfectly spiced meal.
I thought that was pretty funny.
I'm just like,
That was
screw you.
really
It was like,
funny.
are they all gone yet? And then you like reach in your pack and you pull out one of those like spice
Mhm.
racks.
Spice racks.
Travel spice rack.
Yep. Yeah, she's got like an expanding spice rack and just.
I feel like I want to run a game with Levna, Farah, Arwar, and Valis in it.
Just want to play with yourself.
Good night, everybody.
April Fools.
April Fools,
Yeah,
yeah.
You would have to film like each part and script it
Yeah.
really carefully. But
Oh,
you
that
could
would
probably
take
do it.
so many hours. I would never do that. Okay, so moving on further into the story, the view of the city. So basically, once you leave Demlin's apartment, she gives you a rundown. Hey, here's this, and this. Then you see Lord Soth like flexing and just like being a total diva, flying around on a dead dragon, animating more dead dragons. You go through the city. There are a bunch of random encounters. I chose this point to give Riz a Moontouch dagger so that she could actually keep up, because she was the only one who couldn't do regular damage to everything except for Levna, and I don't care about Levna. I care about Levna,
He's
but
lying.
like
He's lying.
I love Levna, but she's not a PC, and I want the PCs
Well,
to feel.
also, Hazeal was doing that to Levna. She was
True.
casting Holy Weapon or Magic Weapon, not Holy Weapon.
That
Mhm.
made
So
it
at
feel
that-
like
The Gollum fight was very like, okay, I guess I will try and taunt this Gollum, but then it couldn't hear me, and I was just like,
Yeah,
hey, I forgot I had luck and I gave it my sword, so we both kind of
right.
fair.
And then I got to
It's
beat
great.
you with the sword. That was one of my big things. That was one of my big things. They give you a bunch of city sites, like there's a very Ozymandias bit to it, and so on. A bunch of city encounters. I used a couple of them. There's a bridge encounter I didn't use with a bunch of Civac Draconians and so on. So, and then you can interrogate them. I had the engineers, they're a little vague on what the engineers are. I had the engineers be captured villagers, because then you have a reason for interfering, whereas like it's kind of vague. If they actually are part of the dragon army, then you like, what's the point? Then you just have a bunch of extra combatants. And then there are three main places you can go aside from the city. There's the Temple of Paladine, the Threshold of the Heavens, and the Occupied Mansion. You can go to the Bastion of Takasis, but you can't get in. It's surrounded by skeletal knights and other dragon army forces, so much so that they just rebuff you if you try to get there. So
it has the like magical key on the map area that says you need to be level blah 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 to unlock.
basically,
when you try
right?
to go there, it says, "Are you sure?"
No passy sign.
Yeah, it's just
In red.
you have not
When you try to
unlocked
go
this.
into the mountains.
Yeah.
It's like, are you sure that you're underleveled for this?
Oh, that just
Yeah.
happened to me. It's literally you have not unlocked this part of San Andreas yet, right?
Oh,
Like,
God. I think you're
so-
showing our age there.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, well. You can go to the Occupied Mansion and get a bunch of intel. There is no reason to go to the Occupied Mansion if your characters don't want to get into a bunch of fights. Going through there, you'll get some intel. You'll get a little more story as to what they're planning on doing. But mostly you just get like saying that Belafeon and Loazet are in the Threshold. The passphrase to enter is there, and they're shoring up the districts, which you guys already saw. And the reason that they were doing that is because they were trying to lift the whole damn city, and they're trying to like fuse it together. You get a bunch of treasure. The only part of it that is really interesting to me is that there are a few extra like character bits where they tell you a little about more about Belafeon and Loazet. They don't mention that Belafeon's a dragon, but they do talk a little bit more, and this is the one downside. And I should have put this a little more in, but they talk a little bit more about Consaldi Fire Eyes, the leader of the Red Dragon Army. Who?
Yeah, because we got that name drop. Because that's where I thought we heard about Belafeon but it was Fire Eyes. That was
Consaldi.
Like I was searching through my notes for that character because I was like, I feel like we've heard about this commander before. Nope.
Consaldi Fire Eyes not showing up in previous parts of the book is the one thing I regret, actually, from this module, because they put Lord Soth in a lot, and Lord Soth is great, but Lord Soth, you have two Darth Vaders in this, right? You've got Consaldi and you've got Lord Soth, and they're both big encounters at the end, but Consaldi is more important to the Red Dragon Army. Lord Soth is connected to them and he's doing his own thing, but to stop the Red Dragon Army, this is not really a spoiler because it's pretty obvious. Like, it's literally like Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin. Like, that's literally the split there. You can't stop the Death Star without stopping Tarkin, technically. But all of the mystic bullshit comes from Vader. Right? So I feel like they should have been set up a little more. My favorite part about this, though, is that you can steal a big 200-pound pack, 200-pound sack of silver with the word payroll written on it. And it's 10,000 silver pieces. And I just love 10, that it's
10,000 silver pieces. Garbage.
It's the only thing I just love that it's a sack that says payroll on it. I think that's great.
That's pretty good.
So you go in, you kill everybody in the mansion. What's that?
At least they're paying their army.
200 pounds.
That's good.
It's 200 pounds.
200 pounds?
Yeah, not like British pounds. Pip, pip. So within 24 hours, they restaff, so it doesn't actually cause anything. Temple of Paladine, you show up. There are bodies in the trees. There's Duskwalker, and if you don't talk to Duskwalker in the first round of combat, it fights and fights and fights and fights and fights. I default to do a social action because I think social actions are more entertaining than combat when the second round of combat will end with, friends. So it seemed the way that you guys went into it meant that I could have Duskwalker, the Dryad, just be like, I will destroy you if you don't get out of here. And you were, oh, we're friends. Then you go into the lake, and there's a Marid, so a water genie there, who summons a water elemental. You guys fight, you go in, there are a bunch of mummies and holes, and then you get the Dragonlance, and it's dope. And when you run it, you should absolutely upgrade every part of that to make it cooler. Like, the whole thing, you guys didn't see it, but in the YouTube version of this, I actually did a bunch of voice mods on Paladine. So when you listen to Paladine, he's got like a big reverb, and there's really a good joke in that episode where I accidentally talk as Paladine, and Robin's like, Paladine, is that you? And I'm like, no, it's not me. But I put a reverb on the no, it's not me too, and it's pretty funny.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
I remember that.
Because you're like, is that you? I was like, no, I'm doing it in Riz's voice. I was doing it in character.
Oh, sorry.
Paladine, is that you?
So then you go into the Threshold of the Heavens. And the Threshold of the Heavens is where we diverged quite a bit. So there are a lot of really cool things about the Threshold of the Heavens that I haven't seen as often in Wizards modules before. And I really want to talk about them. So going through, so you go to the Threshold, you have to get to the floating island. The fact that they don't see you jumping up is a little weird, but it gave us some platforming. That was fine. Entry, you walk up, and you go, hey, let us in. And then they literally say, the Civic Draconians out front, if you give them the password, they don't listen to a thing that happens inside the tower. It's above their pay grade. Yeah, so if you went in, the door shut, and you started stabbing everyone in the face, they'd be like, they must know what they're doing.
That's
Hey,
great. 'Cause that was what I
they
was
serve
worried
the-
about when we first got in there. It was like,
The higher ups are hashing it out.
I'm-
Who are we? We're just
I'm
on the bottom.
I'm sure
So good.
Cal can attest to this, but when you're a security guard, yeah, that's accurate.
You're like, I don't get paid enough for this. Like,
No,
that's so great. That's so amazing for like a wizard's thing to module to that to be like, nah, we're good. We're good.
we're good.
We're good.
Okay. Here, number
I
two,
love
the
that.
next room is another thing that is amazing. And it's that there is a bone devil named Gulfost and a Bozak Draconian named Orm. Gulfost is under orders to obey his handler, but it does not compel him to fight after Orm dies. So if you go in there and kill the Draconian first, the Bone Devil will immediately be like, I'm good. I don't want to fight anymore. And then he'll proceed to tell you how to bypass all of the magical things in the dungeon because you killed his master. So he's literally like,
Did we see his master?
So, well, his master's technically Loazet, the Black Robe, but he's being compelled to follow the Draconian on the first floor that was like, "Why are you here?" Bah. Right? And he's like, if you ask him about the dangers above, he's like, "Oh yeah, the next floor is like a lightning floor. Just say Kedith, and it'll like disarm it." So then he did. After
I
goddamn
was
lightning
scared.
floor.
I
The
thought
god-
it was like, hey, the less people we fight, the more HPs and spell slots we
This is
have
true,
when we
this is
reach
true.
the
Right?
top.
You
And,
still
and
lost
I
him.
was worried that the guys would come
100%.
in hearing us kill people on the first floor. It's like, we gotta sneak past at least
Right.
the first before we get into trouble.
So I think you're really gonna like what you guys could have done, right? The wishes, right? So the two fonts on that floor as well are full of holy water that you can steal. After you kill Orm,
Oh, so holy water you can use on the goddamn flame skulls.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. It's a cute little dungeon. I actually really like it. So the next room, so you
Jen.
Chen's so mad.
Where was the holy
It's-
water?
It was there were a couple of fountains like right inside of that first room. So you go through the one and there's that
yeah.
weird orange thing on the floor. And you're like, what is this? This is a map of the city. So if you use the console to throttle the tower's magic, the symbol in the center of the room turns red and the threshold's entire floating island drops 10 feet. If it does, the flame skulls come looking for you. But the tower's 10 feet lower when it's time to leave. So it's easier to get off of it.
I mean, I'm kind of glad I didn't touch those.
yeah,
I was just
so
like, again, the fear of like alerting people to our position. I'm just like, if I don't know what it does, I'm not gonna.
Also, I think
turn
we
it
were
on.
all rolling real poor on our
Yeah.
Arcana rolls in
Yeah,
that room.
you really
so
were.
It's
It
just
was
like,
great.
I don't know what it's
Uh-huh.
gonna do.
So from there, you went up and got some Astarian drones, and then there were two that you took control of. That was totally part of the module. I messed up. I'm gonna 100% admit that. Riz, you ran them into the lightning room, and I had them explode. I forgot they were immune to lightning. So
You
the
mentioned
one,
they had like padding on them or something.
I
The
basically was
second
like,
batch. Yeah.
yeah, the one
Yeah.
that attacked you guys was like grounded, basically.
Mm,
So I was just like, oops. Well, I guess they had part of their shell off or something like that.
They
Because
were being
Yeah.
repaired. Yeah, it's
Under
fine.
me.
exactly.
so
Yeah, they
other
didn't-
than like make them move, could you do anything with them?
So they're not super useful. I'm not gonna lie. So
Okay.
the
Because
two
I
Astarian
wanted
drones.
to use them to like go and beat up things for us. That's all my hope was for Riz.
So let me double check this. So for that,
Like a remote
in this room to
control.
move or attack
Yeah.
a creature. Yeah. So they would only attack creatures in that room because you have to control them from the room. But if you could lure
Oh,
things
yeah.
into that room, they would totally attack them.
Oh my god, amazing.
Right? In theory, I don't think it's a big.
skulls.
It is totally not a stretch to say that you could have them just like go up and attack whatever. Probably.
Mhm.
You could probably do that. It's not too much of a stretch. So from there, communications, you go into the communications room, which was once a magical communications room that got, so the consoles in the room with the flame skulls were destroyed by the dragon army by accident when they took over the place. And Since then, Loazette got so mad that he stationed 3 flame skulls to guard it so that they didn't break anything else. And so when you go in, that's the trigger. The flame skulls don't leave the room unless like engaged, because they're basically undead security guards. But you guys went into the room and they're like, terminate.
To be fair, I opened the door.
Fair.
I didn't go in the room. I actually just opened the door.
Oh, fair. Well, to be fair.
And you had it blast me, but yes.
Anyway,
that was fun. That was fun because you like opened the door, saw these like ungodly things that you've never seen before, and we're like,
shut the door, and then it blasted through the door. It was great. It was so good. It was like, nope.
Okay. See, and then Cal, you went to the navigation room with the 2 Aurak Draconians, the Goldie ones, and like they were studying the table, and you convinced them. You actually managed to trick them, which was fantastic. Here's what I love about that. You stealthed into the room and you're like, does a 12 succeed? Do you know what they're so intent. Do you know what their DC for stealth is for you? 8.
I'd love to know. So I could almost not fail.
They have attention deficit disorder. They're hyper focusing on the map. They're fixated. They're like,
As long as Riz didn't roll a nat 1, because I had plus 12, plus 13 now to my rules, Riz could not fail unless you rolled a nat 1.
It was plus 8 for me.
Yeah,
no,
nice.
it would have been great.
Yeah, that's
so
amazing.
from there, you can see magical map. Upstairs, you go to the scrying room. Loazette doesn't care. If you had brought him up to Buffeon, he totally would have betrayed you and started attacking you, and that would have been a hell of a fight. I was really hoping that Cal was going to go through with it.
Because you remember me being like, no, you're coming with us,
and I was
but
like,
it didn't seem like the popular vote. I really wanted to bring him with because I had a dominate person.
That's fair.
I was
had a good. So, and they also say that he might come back. You never know.
And we
might
were
not.
so nice to him. So
you stole his
He
stuff.
did kind of look a little bit like Harwar in my mind.
I took all his stuff.
It's true.
you were like, hey.
You're like,
and then you guys go to the bridge and you fight Billafeon. And that fight was great. I was really disappointed
that reveal was so amazing, Kelly. Like, I still can't get over it. It was so beautifully done.
Well,
I was just like,
thank you for being patient and not being like, I use Uncanny Dodge or something like that when I grabbed you.
Yeah, no, when I
Cinematic
Uncanny
mode.
Dodge, I was like, oh shit, they have true sight.
Yeah.
So that's where my brain was. So I was just like,
I have the same ant as Aurontiros, so I was like, well, wait a second, you're invisible.
Well, I think actually what you described was like he grabs you and his fingernails start elongating. So then I was just like, oh no.
He's a wow.
Dragon. So that was very beautifully done, and because I didn't see any of the cover art for this episode, I had no idea that was coming. So to do that and be the rogue
I
to
did see
sneak
the
in
opener
was like,
and I was like, Kelly, I really like that art. It feels really like 70s fantasy art.
It's
not even thinking that was
I love what people don't think. Christine, were you gonna say something? You look like you were gonna chime in.
Oh, just that it was good because there was a moment there where like you're like, Riz is grappled, and I'm like, in her turn. No, she's not. She's still got freedom of movement on her.
Yeah. The Billafeon the Billafeon fight's really good. There is no way you can stop the towers from rising. It's just because you can't attune. That's a beautiful little note they put in there because that's the first thing the players try to do. Then when you are dealing with Billafeon, the thing that I was disappointed with is that he doesn't provoke dragon fear. And I thought that was a missed opportunity. And he should have. He's only a young dragon, but
Didn't
I feel
Christine like put in our chat something about lesser dragons versus greater dragons?
Yeah, so I knew because I'd just been looking at all the dragons for extra life for my ability to turn into one, that wormlings and lesser dragons do not get frightful presence. It's everything above that level.
I know. It was just kind of a bummer.
Adult and ancient versus young and
I feel like the young
you
dragon
actually IRL scared me. I should have had to roll for Dragon Fear.
right? So I feel that you could have fought an adult dragon in this circumstance. I think that it's a young dragon because Loazette could potentially join the fight, and the Flame Skulls probably would wear you out a bit. The Flame Skulls could have been a TPK.
They did wear us out.
How dare.
And they're
Kelly,
beautiful.
I had 1 hit point left.
Do you know what challenge rating a Flame Skull is?
I would love
3.
to know.
It's like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Like they are really low level for fire. They're ridiculous, guys. Like they have 3 of them. Oh,
You-
what a
I
almost
don't
party wiped us in
understand
mine
challenge
with
levels.
those.
I don't know
Yeah.
what challenge levels are.
basically a good fight is your party level.
Mm.
A boss fight is 1.5 to 2 times.
But
Okay.
does that balance with how many there are?
Basically,
What's in the next room?
So it's like it doesn't balance for the next room. Each one either depends on what you're looking at, because challenge rating math is really bad. And it never works, but I think you can generally, it's either every additional one of the same level raises it by 1 challenge rating or by half its rating again.
I think it's by half
Okay.
its rating.
I think
so
it's by
like,
half.
so
I
it'd
never
be-
listened to
It
it.
would be a total challenge rating for the 3 would be a total challenge rating of 6 for our 4-person party. I think it's also I think it's a 4-person party, not 5-person.
Yeah, 5-person parties you can round up a bit. I think that you could have fought an
Yeah.
adult dragon though, since you had the Dragonlance, and you have a 6-person party. So
I do have to say that I really appreciate all of us with all of the prep that we put into that.
you guys
last
finally,
fight.
I finally have a party that strategizes. It's interesting because a lot of my
Mhm.
others just don't. So
Oh, okay. Whew, that feels nice, because I was like, man, I'm the weakest link by hard.
I mean, you're still getting used to it.
softest link.
I think
Yeah.
I think you'll continue to get better at strategizing as you go into different games. Oh, God, I've been playing so much Baldur's Gate, guys. I want to run more games. I don't have any more time. I did my schedule for the next like 6 months. I don't have any more time, but I want to run more. I want to run Avernus after, anyway. Or have someone else run it. That'd be even better. So then the city rises. You have to escape. You can get some escaped Dragonels. You can do floating rocks. There's an ambush. And then it ends with you meeting up with Calaman's forces and Darret and then rushing back. Okay. So that's the chapter. It is a long chapter. There's a lot of stuff that happens in it. And of course there's Lord Soth raising the bastion of Takasis to the sky. And it looks pretty cool. Like it looks like this.
That's how I pictured it.
Yeah,
That's
basically.
exact.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So-
pretty close to what I pictured it a little small in my head, so having that is better, because I definitely pictured it like a smaller island.
Yeah, it's okay. So here are my problems with this. The entire way through, you guys were there to stop the Red Dragon Army from getting what they wanted. That is
Essentially, yeah.
that is literally all you knew, though. You're like, what do they want? I don't know, but let's stop them from getting it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
fair.
feel
Yeah.
like that's a weakness in the writing.
Not only that, there were times in the past where Jen, myself, it's freeing because my character isn't smart. So I'm like, I guess I don't need to be smart. Well, why are we coming here again? But I'm glad that you kind of like back the players up on that, Kelly.
Oh,
And
totally.
that,
And every time you said
like,
that,
it
I
was like,
winced. I was
why
like,
are we?
is this something I'm doing wrong? Did I miss something in the module? And I just don't think it's there. Like, I think that it's
It's
just...
I mean,
And they also
yeah.
emphasize the Dragonlance and getting that consecrated and getting it
And
back
having
to its
it with
power.
us, but it's
So
like, why?
you think so all of our minds are like, yeah, we're supposed to stop them or beat them there or something, but also Dragonlance, and that is something that we know and we have the physical thing with, so that we're thinking about it more. So I think it is a weakness,
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, what is the weapon we're supposed to be getting? Is it
Mhm.
is the
'Cause
weapon
it's
the
like a rusty,
Dragonlance?
broken. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think...
Well, and
Maybe.
so
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say for my part in some of that, like there was the Northern Wastes, which felt like the hurry up and wait section, which
Yep.
was very like, yeah, we're supposed to be saving the world, but also explore this wasteland for like 8 weeks. I don't know.
Hurry up and get to wherever you're going, but you can also explore ruins.
Yeah. I mean,
Have
it
you
does kind of
thought
feel like that in
about-
Baldur's Gate, but
Right? Right.
but the other thing is like, and this is I understand it, me problem. My brain is Swiss cheese, and week to week, I'm like, what did we do? I don't know.
Mhm.
I have no recollection. Hazel's going from minute to minute, and it hasn't. Maybe it's been a night since last game for her. It's
Yeah.
been a whole week for me where I've been doing 8 million things and basically like doing 4 jobs for a week, and I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
remember what life was.
Yeah,
But
it's
also,
hard.
D&D wizards cast the spells from their memory.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I think if I ran this again, I would lean on, and this is a suggestion for you all, because you're there to restore the lance, and that's the only place you can really do it. I would press it on having like the Indiana Jones style. We're both going to this place for different means. So, you know, it's like 2 competitive races to see who can achieve their goal first. I would put more pressure on it. I would also make it a little more Indiana Jonesy and maybe have something where they try to steal the lance or the cleric's holy symbol or something. And then it belongs in a museum, you know, and then you have a fist fight on top of a train or a dragon or something, right?
Yes.
I feel-
Specifically, a new type of dragon that is a train.
Come on, ride
Does
the
that be
dragon.
like-
Dragons.
And ride it.
A drain of dragons.
A drain of
Train.
dragons.
A dragon
So-
rider.
Yes. Okay, so what was something about this chapter that you felt was weak, that you would have liked to see something more of, or what's some criticism that you have, or positives? Like, give me a yuck and a yum. Like, because for me it was the lack of structure and the lack of being able to guide you toward, like, you got a really cool fight at the end, you got a couple of reveals, but I feel like it wasn't scaffolded to make it as cathartic as it could have been.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, it was a little shallow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still of the opinion, and this is even after playing through as much as this module as we have, I'm still of the opinion that the test of high sorcery should have been earlier. You should have gone into, like, maybe your first level mage, but you should have gone into it as a mage and not necessarily as a, you know, initiate, and then you become an adept, and then 4 levels later you do your test of high sorcery. Like, it didn't make sense to me for somebody who has read the books.
I feel like they could have also done it like during the Calaman chapter, like where you're going on, like that's the mid-level, like, oh, you're level 4, you know, that's the right
exactly.
time, you know?
Yeah. And
Or
it could have been
even
part
make
of
it-
that or whatever.
Or even make it part of the like the Northern Waste thing where it's like, oh yeah, there's a side quest. Oh, there's this mage that is in this old ruin that, you know, there's you know, you may want to go talk to this mage and have them kind of there, make it so it's like
Straight
even still
up.
a little bit earlier than the like final issue.
Straight up, the magic like little tower thing that was broken apart in chunks. I was expecting a wizard of high
Right?
sorcery in there when we
That
went
would've been
through that
great.
black portal.
Yeah.
So the fact it was just some
Mhm.
like dude and some spooky demons, I was like, oh,
Right?
no,
That's very
there's
valid.
nothing. I actually thought that it would be like, welcome, Hazeal, and there'd be like a spooky fucking dude ready to test Hazeal on the other
What,
side.
like
of
a
the portal.
ghost? A ghost test?
Yeah,
Or something.
That would have been
right?
really
Like,
cool.
Someone just-
something.
Someone
Yeah.
trapped
Steal
in
that.
there that is like, oh, I'm here to do your test. Like,
Right? Yeah. Somebody removed
Yeah.
from time and death that can't come back. Keep that NPC that's in there. But from what we know, the tests of high sorcery are supposed to be like lethal and soul crushing and changing and etc. Right?
And Kelly, I'll say you did a great job with the one you did give us.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was
I love that.
fantastic.
Oh
But
man,
the module could have
when
improved on some
Rizira just
things.
like burnt up into a crisp.
I also think that the whole like
That
gifts
was
of high sorcery, like
great.
when you pass the test of high sorcery, you get a gift. Like you should get something. Like Raceland got the gold skin, and Palin got the staff of Magius. Actually, so did Raceland, of course. And after that, it was like, I should give my players something too. Like feels that impetus. I feel like that should have been written into the module, right?
Oh, so you did that.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
That was me.
Part.
That was me
I-
trying to
I
balance
asked.
it. Yeah, you asked for it. I'm like, oh, what could be balanced?
I'm like, does
for this?
anything about me change because of what we just did, kind of thing?
And it's the same. So that's why I ended up giving everyone a gift over the next bit. Like Godfrey got, I think he got an extra feat or something like that, or he got a Dragonlance, so that's pretty good. That's pretty dope. Riz got her magic weapon ability from Tass and the Chaos Stone, the Gray Stone.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was great.
And Kelara got the Wisdom boost that makes me impossible to succeed a save against her now. So balancing it out. And Levna got Crankier, which is also a thing. Yeah, that's right.
I got something too.
You did?
Yeah, I remember.
You don't remember what it is.
It was a big one, which I was gonna nitpick you about the mechanics for outside of this stream. It was like spell resistance, and I'm like,
yeah. So like, it's great. So look up a gnome, and you get what gnomes get.
Yeah, you get like advantage against saving throws for
See, that was the part I
spells.
was like, does it just half damage, like barbarian, like resistance? But I guess
no.
it
So it's
applies
not
to save,
resistance
too?
to magic. It is spell resistance. It is the nature of spell. So if I was like, I charm you. Charm's a bad example, but if I was like, I cast
Cast
a hold on you or something like that, you're just like, I have advantage on this.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty huge. Yeah.
Wait, gnomes have this?
Yeah, gnomes have it
gnomes have it
naturally.
as their
Gnomes are
starting-
broken,
Yeah,
but they've got-
it's their like starting
but they can't dunk
ability.
Oh, but they can't
unless they cast
unless they take jump.
unless they take jump. Yeah, gnomes
Yeah.
can't dump.
Gnomes can't dump.
No, gnomes can't. They can dump. They can't. They can finkel dump.
Oh god.
Oh, that wasn't this chapter, but that's a fun
That's a good
memory.
Yeah.
I think that it's a really good. I think it's a really good module overall so far. Like we still got one chapter to go. I was talking to Christine about this the other day and thinking that out of all of the modules that we've ran on the channel, so when you run a game for the internet, this is work. Like this, you come home, you have to psych yourself up. It is a performance. You're not just playing with friends, you're playing with your friends and an entire audience. And some days you show up and you're like, oh, I just want to take a nap, or I just want to like play a video game, or I just want to go see a movie. And sometimes it is exhausting. And there have been many times when I was running games where I was like, I really don't feel like this tonight. Dragonlance has been the least number of that out of any module I've ever run. I have always wanted to come and play with this group, like I would say 98% of the time. Like there have been a couple of games where I've been either sick or tired or something like that and just haven't been feeling it. But I think it was like the Northern Wastes. The Northern Wastes, there was like one episode there I wasn't feeling. And then there was like one episode during the missions of Calaman where I was like, this is filler and I hate it.
Yeah.
But like literally, I come to this game and I love it. And I think the only other module that I've consistently felt that is, I think Wild Beyond the Witchlight is the next best one. And even then there's a lot of filler in Witchlight, but the vibe is really cohesive. I'd say after that,
Yeah,
like
there's a different vibe.
Call of the Netherdeep had this huge swath in the middle that was like, why are we doing this?
Oh my god, it was like watching paint dry.
And then the last half of Rima the Frost
what is
Maiden
the
was
point?
finishing that out of spite.
Oh my god, yeah.
Finishing it out of spite.
It's like we're already here.
Sometimes you gotta.
And then Curse of Strahd is just Curse of Strahd. It is what it is, guys. Enjoy. It is not a game I think goes well with streaming usually. But I'm trying to think what else have we ran. We ran Candlekeep was depending on the night.
Candlekeep was Candlekeep.
Candlekeep was crazy.
It was special.
Well,
yeah.
We've ran one more stream on the channel. What was it?
Strixhaven.
Strixhaven I'm usually down for because I get to be Kai.
Yeah,
I gotta-
playing in that. So
I'm playing in that. I feel like there was one more that we had that we ran. Oh,
Like module one?
Spelljammer.
oh right.
And
Oh, right, yeah,
Spelljammer,
it was
Spelljammer was like the exact opposite of the Northern Way. Spelljammer was like, the plot's moving and you better hop on or else we're leaving you behind.
Fair.
I'm really hoping the Planescape does not have that in it. Because that would be really, really great. Also,
Does
the
not
Planescape
have
is
that
coming
in
out.
it?
Well, because I'm hoping the Planescape is not like that because Spelljammer was 12 episodes and it was set up like a TV show, basically, where it was like, you get here, you do this, and cliffhanger. And the cliffhangers were almost always anticlimactic. Like it was like, and there's a guy who pops out with a bazooka and he points it at you, and that's the end of the episode. And then the next episode, he goes, "Hi, I'm very friendly. Can you help me repair this bazooka?" Right, type of thing. And you're like, what?
Oh,
I mean,
I get what you
one
mean
or
by
two of those is
episodic.
fine.
It's just a bunch of teases. It's just a bunch of teases with no resolution. And then the ending is kind of weird. And then they retcon the ending of Spelljammer in errata. Because they realized that in the core printed book, you do a genocide. And they're like, let's step this back.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. So I guess let's talk real quick about what did you think was really useful about this? What advice would you give to other people?
I only had one thing when you were thinking of like lowlights and highlights. Give the group like a real strong reason to go up like into the wastes, but not the like what did you say, Jen? Like hurry up to and slow down.
Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait thing. Hey, there's this ruin and we can, this is how long it takes to move across the wastes, and then we have the blessing from Habakkuk. And that helped like things out or whatever, but it does make you feel like you're not playing the good guys if you go and get like the extra loot and interact with all of these other things. And so maybe a good idea would be, hey, we need to like revive this, like very clearly you need to go into the northern wastes and find a lost temple of Paladine to revive this Dragonlance, very specifically, not to stop the Red Dragon army, and then introduce the Red Dragon army as up to some shenanigans when they get to the city of lost names.
Yeah, maybe putting more emphasis on them like repairing the buildings and stuff. Like, why? Because like they were doing that and it doesn't really come back up. At least it didn't in our playthrough. So
in hindsight, I'm like, oh, that's why they were doing that. Yeah. But do you know what I mean? Then it would be like, oh, is this place the Temple of Paladine? No, but is this tower? Like, what's this elven tower? Oh no. And then it would make sense to jump around because you're
right.
Oh, we found the Temple of Hibiscus.
Have a banana.
Hibiscus.
Temple of Hibiscus. It's very delicious. Very refreshing.
Very
Have a
delicious.
biscuit?
Yeah,
the Temple of Have a Biscuit.
Of Have a Biscuit.
I like biscuits.
Only half. Everybody gets one.
I can't say that word too many. My dog is like right here, so.
Oh, because then you're like, oh, there are temples up here. Okay, sweet, we're on the right track. And then just have it happen to be where the Red Dragon army is making their move.
Right.
That makes sense because I definitely did. And it's a brain fog thing too. I definitely was like, wait, what are we doing?
Yeah,
100%.
Yep.
And why do we have the rusty lance that's not useful anymore? Is it the lance or was it switched out and that's a fake one? Like
That's
all these
Dragonlance Bass.
in my head.
yeah.
Dragonlance Bass. So I would be like, maybe have an NPC inserted, or maybe through a religion check, be like, no, this absolutely is a Dragonlance, but during the Cataclysm, it lost its
Yeah, well, it was when
Claire.
it was when Sarlamir did himself a Kalin that it was cursed.
That it was cursed, right?
Yeah.
And there's only
Yeah.
one place to uncurse it, and it is somewhere in the Northern Wastes. And then
Yeah.
it gives you that Indiana Jones thing where then the characters, instead of being like, shit, we need to stop the Red Dragon Army, we're gonna have to skip all this.
Mhm.
The
Right.
main goal is to explore. But then again,
Yeah.
yeah, no?
well, because
Yeah,
they kind of
because go ahead.
well, they kind of do that with you trying to find the city of lost names because you don't know
But
where
not
it is.
clearly enough.
Yeah, maybe that was my fault.
Because I don't think so. Because
Yeah,
I don't think so.
what I was gonna say was that a lot of this module doesn't balance the what they expect people to know of the lore. So it goes from like, you know nothing of the lore, so we're gonna tell you stuff, to, oh, you didn't know that? Like there's no middle ground there.
Probably a bunch of different
Right.
writers writing it together, and a bunch of them have read the
Yeah.
books, and some of them haven't even opened one.
Yeah, or
And they're just-
something.
And they're just writing a D&D module, right?
Yeah, or
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
trying to make sure that it's like, oh, we need to
How
make
vanilla
sure
can
that.
this be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You make it there, and they're making swirl by accident.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair
yeah.
because you need to, like, at the end of the day, people are working and you need to sell the modules, and it needs to be friendly to not just the fans, the Dragonlance fans. I understand that.
Yeah, and I mean, I would absolutely love it if they had skewed more to nobody knows anything about Dragonlance, so let's write for them. If it had been 100% that way, that would have been great for me because my brain can't hold any of that lore in my head. But it definitely felt like, especially with Vogler and having to leave, and then it's like, oh, and then Calaman, oh, we're running some errands. This is, aren't we at war? Like, but we're running some errands. Okay. And then it's, oh, and now we're in the Northern Wastes, and why are we here? Why is this a thing?
Right.
So yeah, there's
So
a
yeah,
lot of that.
try to have a clarity of purpose when you're running this. That is definitely big, and you can always do it through the easy way of, oh, we captured a guy, and they give us some info. I think you can even say in advance that they're trying to raise the City of Lost Names again and use it as a weapon. You know, like, you still got to go into the threshold of having to stop them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
doesn't
because I
really.
think that's like I was hearing while I was away through the headphones, where it's like, yeah, you don't quite have a clear guideline for what the weapon is or any hint to it. So it's like, they're looking for a weapon. Okay, cool. Let's go look in buildings, not, oh, it's a building, it's a city that is the weapon. Because I think, and maybe the lore that was dropped didn't really say that the city was like really like movable. Like I never got the impression that the city could be like
Fly again.
moved places. Yeah, or
Used
like
that
fly
way.
again, or used to like go places. Like I thought it just literally was just hovering in the air above its spot, not that it could go around.
No, it
To
was a
even
big flying
think that
city.
it could be yeah, it could be like a Death Star. Like it didn't, in the module didn't really hint that it was like a Death Star.
It doesn't really have.
It needs to hint that it's the Death Star.
It
if
doesn't
we're
have a
going with
sky
Star
beam.
Wars.
That's the problem.
Mm.
It needs
No
a sky beam.
no Death Star.
There's no sky
Yeah.
beam, no Death Star. We understand this, guys. So here's one suggestion that I have as well. If you Bella on being a dragon is a great surprise. If you let your players know that they're trying to get the city operational again, it might be a good idea to mention that Bella is a dragon so that they go get the Dragonlance restored first. Right? Because then they know going in. However, there is one thing that I was thinking about while you guys were talking that I thought would be a fantastic little bit of action, maybe even a little bit of horror. And it was realizing that, where is she? in the Northern Wastes, when you go and rescue all of those people, you have that encounter with that black dragon. She
Mhm.
doesn't really come back much.
Oh, no?
I don't think so. Actually, she might be in the last chapter. I'll double check. But
We're nobodies. Don't worry about us.
Yeah.
well, there's a lot in the last chapter, but I don't think she comes back. I think it's
Or like you don't have to necessarily say that Belfaon is a dragon, is that you could just hint that the dragon army has a dragon nearby at the Citadel that's not just the death dragon that Lord Soth is on. So you
But I
don't
think-
necessarily have to hint that it's
That's true.
Belfaon if you want to have that reveal.
I think it would be really interesting, though, if you guys went and when you rescue those people, that the dragon takes it personally, and then maybe starts stalking you. I would think it would be really epic if you guys got the Dragonlance restored, and then like a black dragon busts into the Temple of Paladine, and is like, "I found you, and you have a Dragonlance now." Like, think how empowering and awesome that could be. You could even literally have Paladine, like, right before the fight, be like, "All right, you guys, you're all healed up. Get in there."
I like that. Yeah.
Because
Like a
Paladine could
coach
literally be
patting
like,
you on the
Cool.
back.
"Long rest."
Is she an adult? Is she an adult black dragon or an ancient black
I
dragon?
think she is an adult. I'm trying to find it, but I'm having trouble finding the page. Because it has been...
See, but then you'd still have to scale. You might. It depends if do you because is a module.
She would be an
trying
adult
to
because she
have-
has Dragon Fear. But I'm just saying something like
Yeah.
that could have been really interesting.
Oh yeah. Because like that would be very cool. But you don't want to have that be like the big fight and then Belfaon being like, oh yeah, this is easy straight.
That's true. I mean, it would require a little bit of juggling, but I think it could be like pretty cool. The other thing...
Switch stat blocks around. Have
Exactly,
like
right?
the stat block for the young dragon be the dragon that flies in.
Or you could
and then
just
have-
say, like, it does not... It takes one sentence to say, in Dragonlance, all dragons have Dragon Fear.
Mhm.
Because this is Dragonlance.
That
Right?
would make sense, yeah.
Right? I
Well,
honestly
'cause
almost...
especially again this we've rolled for fear like once or twice in this whole module, and they made for the book a kender that has the feat for fearless, and I've used it once this whole
You're-
game where it's just like I'm coming up to it. I know.
Fun.
I know.
I now get
I'm saying
advantage
give
against
all-
Dragon Fear.
But all like saying like if all dragons had it, if you have a person like that chose Kender specifically for that kind of fun fearlessness is like,
Mhm.
yeah, that
You're-
would be
you're
fun
waiting
to
for it.
have. Yeah, exactly. I'm
Um,
waiting for it.
So, I had a question that was left in the Discord, if we can move on from that. For the How to Run, how did you decide what to skip and what to keep in the City of Lost Names, based on what the players wanted to do and what needed to happen? They didn't want to go to the mansion. Like, I asked them out of character as well, like, you guys want to do the mansion thing? And they were like, why? And I couldn't think of a good reason.
Yeah, you're like, do I do a bunch of like hack and slash crawl? And we're like, no, not really.
I was going to say that's a good like testament to your ability to DM, Kelly, is that you came to us and you were like, there's a mansion, but like I can't think of a reason why the PCs would want to go there.
Aside
but to,
from
like,
more
burn it
intel,
down.
right?
Yeah, like it's a station point for like enemies, but like why would they go there, and should we go there? And that's a
Mhm.
that's good communication.
Well, you guys are good players. What were your favorite NPCs in this chapter? There was like one NPC in this chapter, really, and it was like Demelin, and she's fine. What other NPCs were in the Lord Soth? But Lord Soth just looks spooky and flexes a
We
bunch.
haven't we haven't met him yet. Like I don't count
Yeah.
him as an NPC yet because we haven't met him. He's a threat. He is a threat and like a bad guy, but he's not an NPC yet.
Yeah, dude, right before Belfaon, whatever his name is.
He was
Was
fine.
that
What a wormy
Lo-
What
was
that?
that?
No, what I kind of liked about him was just the whole like, yes, you're here to rescue me, thank you, and then being like, I just
slowly
want to live,
reaches
guys.
for gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to live. Like, yep. And I liked him for that, but that's because I like the morally ambiguous characters sometimes.
I agree. Which NPCs did you feel were a little wasted or didn't get enough screen time? The Bone Devil. The Bone Devil would have been great. The guy who's like, oh, because I had the voice picked out for him, where you were going to be all
I
like,
know you switched to that voice so easily, and I was like, oh, damn.
oh, hello there. I'm the Bone Devil.
That made me more afraid of him.
Yes, because he's British. You know he's going to colonize you.
Yeah.
He's going to colonize your bones.
He's going to take our artifacts.
And add them to his spine.
Oh,
They'd be like, here's nice bones, but do you have a flag? Little Bone Devil flag. Yes. That is, I mean, that's chapter 6, folks. It is a bit of a ride. I would sprinkle it through with as many references as possible, customize it to your players. And if anything that we did worked for you, rip us off. Absolutely. Definitely get some music going when Paladine appears. Give your players gifts. Like, look inside of the Dungeon Master's Guide or look it up online. There are tons of gifts you could give, little stat increases, little things like this. Dragonlance is a high-powered module, and giving the players something that makes them feel special is really, really important. It really is impactful. And magic items are great, but there's a difference, you know? There really is. Yes, reels.
I was remembering NPCs. They weren't there for a long time, but they were a good time. Was Fizzban and Tass.
That's true. They're not in the module, though.
I definitely
fair, but you said favorite
Kelly
NPCs of the module. Yeah. Favorite NPCs of the chapter.
Fizzban's easy to run. Was my task okay?
I love your
Tass.
Tass.
That's exactly how.
That's exactly what I heard and pictured Tass.
And that is the saddest moment that you could have gotten Tass too.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's from book 4.
Yep.
Right.
Dragons of Summer Flame. Yep. Which is the worst book ever. Oh my god. No, it's fine. It's a fine book, but man, it was such a depressing book. Yeah, it was rough.
I haven't actually read that far. Or at least not recently.
It is a book.
Am I that old? It's been 20 years.
It's been a decade or 6
The
since
books
I
are
read
that
it
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 17.
Yeah, I was like 14 when I read it, so like woof. So like 10 years ago.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah,
19,
10.
Like
10.
the Y2K thing was like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
30 years ago? Wait.
Why-
The 90s
what?
started 30 years ago? No.
Nah,
Yeah,
lies.
Lies and slander. You know what else is lies and slander? That we lost Robin.
Robin is lies and slander, apparently.
You know what? She knew. She
She
it was coming,
accused.
so
It was Robin
on
all along.
cue.
All right. So, folks, we have one more chapter of Dragonlance, so I hope you join us, and I hope you stick around for a lot of fun. There is plenty that is coming soon, and this last chapter is going to be quite a ride. I really appreciate you being here for us and with us. Is there anything else anybody wants to say before we head out? Well,
There was
if
one
not-
thing I wanted to touch on, but I guess I cannot remember.
What? You can't remember it?
Oh,
Swiss
we had-
cheese.
Swiss cheese. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
They speak
Bonjour,
French.
Swiss cheese.
Gruyere. Okay. Well, we can always touch on it in the Discords. Folks, join the Discord. It is free, and it is easy, much like us. So please consider. Well, I don't know. We're free and easy. We're on YouTube. That's pretty easy. We're on Twitch. That's pretty easy. So anyway, consider joining the Patreon if you would like to, because this takes a lot of work, and the more people on Patreon, the more stuff we can do. Right now, if we hit 200 patrons, we'll say 175. Well, if we hit 175 patrons, we might run another module. I might actually get a play in it. I'm not going to say who's going to run it, but if you like Wizards modules and would like to see another one or maybe something else, go join the Patreon. And if we hit 175 patrons, it'll happen. And it'll be pretty great. I want to thank our patrons, though. I want to thank our divine producer, who is my mom. Thank you very much, Mom, and my stepdad. Thanks, Bob. I want to thank Precarious, our demonic producer, for being lovely and wonderful. I want to thank our wizards of the Patreon. That is Tammy, the Forever Cleric, and the Ink Goblin. Ink Goblin, thank you in particular for giving me a bunch of stuff to talk about and for talking to me a bunch about the Test of High Sorcery. And I also want to thank our High Council of the Patreon, Taryn, Buddy, Amberthist, Cubby Gummy, Raven with Baubles, Karasha Urquhart, Chef Eladeth, Larouk, Sorcerer Sanguine, Mike Baxter, and Kalin Whitebeard. Y'all are phenomenal. And I love you a lot. You're all awesome. Thank you so much for being supportive and for letting us do this. And Cal, you just remembered your thing. Do you want to say it real quick?
After the combat ended and it was like, uh-oh, the tower's falling.
Mm-hmm.
And, it wasn't like turn by turn. There was like, the cleric looking after like Godfrey. There was like good in personal moments there. That was the what do I do? Aurontiros, you Rizira, control this because you have the crown. Oh, that's not going to work. And the pacing of all the exit, the finale of escaping the tower as it was like falling with the feather fall, the shattering,
I was
riding
not
the
expecting the
Dragonlance,
feather
like,
fall.
all
I
of
thought that was great.
Was man, I don't know, that felt like a book. And that's one of the reasons I look forward to
You're sweet.
Playing with all y'all.
That's ditto. I look forward to the next game you're going to be in after Dragonlance. Wink. We got to start getting the art ready for that, actually, because that's coming in like 4 months. I gotta prep for that. 3 months. Oh God. All right. So folks, thank you so much for being with us here on our Dragon Quest in Dragonlance. A big thank you as well to our sponsor, Bookworm Games. Go visit bookwormgames.com and use code DORKTALES to save 10% off of your order. And shipping is pretty cheap and free if you spend 100 Canadian, which is not very much money if you live outside of Canada. Besides that, we will be back next Wednesday, and we will also be back Sunday? Yeah, Sunday, Patreon. On Patreon, it is another episode of Technocracy, Zero Sum, that Jen runs. Boop, boop. You should definitely come. But so yeah, Technocracy is on Sunday, and then let's see, on Tuesday we have another episode of Strixhaven over on our Patreon, so you definitely want to check that out. I think we have a rebroadcast on Monday too. I gotta double check that. But folks, thank you so much for being here. We will see you later. Goodbye, everybody.